Hey guys, day 16 with the Rosa 2 mana stacking diary. I am not going to do a map showcase, it's exactly the same, just doing cube, you know the deal. Um, so we're just going to jump in with a target dummy, DPS check straight away. So you can see here, we are now totally DPS capped. And I'm just going to let this run to the 20-second mark, and then I'm going to stop attacking, and you will see how much DPS we roughly have. So as far as I know, and I will stop here. As far as I know, this is how you calculate damage post-cap. So we attacked for like 20 seconds, we're still sitting at the 5 trill mark, it is now the 30-second mark, and it's starting to drop. So that extra 10 seconds where um, the damage was, I'll just move away so we stop the noise, the extra 10 seconds where the damage was above the cap, uh, after being at 5 trill for 20 seconds leads me to believe we are about the just over the 7 trill DPS mark. So I believe that is how it's calculated. Um, that does roughly track because we were just about at DPS dummy cap yesterday, and we have added quite a lot of damage. So I do think we are about the 7 trill, maybe pushing that 7.5 trill mark. Okay, so I'll go into what I've changed. So quite a lot to go through. That is part of the reason why I didn't do a map showcase today. Okay, so compensatory life. I went for spell amp and spell damage corrode because mana is a lot more expensive, and I'm actually not convinced that mana is that good past 20k. I'll go into that in a later video, but you will see what I'm talking about. But I think around like 22k is roughly where you're getting the most from mana. So this would have been expensive, and I don't think it would have been as good. To be fair, there's I'll talk about it later. This is like a huge tangent, but either way, I went for these two corrodes, and then I put no loose ends on it, which is 50% additional damage with basically no downside for us. So I'll just click on it here. You can see max energy shield 6 to 0, we don't care about that, and 50% additional attack damage at low life. So this is what got us to that sort of 7.5 trill DPS threshold mainly. So this was about 2k. The belt I think was about 780, maybe 800, and yeah, like this was a very worthwhile upgrade. Now the price has come down, so definitely go grab one of those if it's in your budget, sort of like 3k mark. Okay, other things have changed. Just a load of tier zeros basically. We put tier 0 cold res on this ring. We put tier 0 fire res on this ring. We put tier 0 lightning res on our body. And we put tier 0 in on the weapon. This went from like 70 to 117 int, so it gave us a big chunk of mana, which allowed us to take mana from elsewhere, which again I'll talk about later. But also in gives us 0.5% additional skill damage per point. So this was quite a big jump on that as well. So those are the mods we've updated. Now there's some mods I've changed. So while trying to get double damage on the rings, I hit additional damage from main hand weapons. Now this is not as good as double damage, I think, but it is still fine for the build. It does work with the build. It is worded a little bit weird, but it works essentially is what I'm trying to get at. It's not as good as double damage, I think, but yeah, it's not too bad. It's just a placeholder while I'm rolling for the last bit of double damage I need. I also uh, rolled double damage here. I believe this was something different. So that is where I've changed those on rings. I managed to get tier 1 damage taken from mana before life, and then I truthed it up to 19, which put us at 109% damage taken from mana before life. And that is obviously past a threshold of needing it on a slate. So I was able to take off one of these slates. If I can find what one. I can't remember what one. But either way, it was this one, I think. Yeah. So I took off the damage taken from mana before life on a corner that was here, and instead I put on this one, which gave us fortitude and attack speed. And we're trying to look at now getting more tanky to take on SS20. So fortitude is one of the defensive layers which I'm going to be using. So nice to get that there for basically no downside. Now once we hit 109%, and it allowed us to take off that 8% roll on the corner that we had here. So another thing I changed with gear is I brought a int and crit corrode gloves. And again, the reason I went for int is that it does give flat mana, just like mana, but it also gives us additional skill damage. So that's the reason I went for those two. This was way cheaper than going for the mana. And we're obviously at the point now where I believe, at least, everything that I've seen points to this being roughly about optimal amount of mana. What else did I change? I changed skills. The only thing really I changed with skills was Frigid Domain. We leveled our Precise Concentrated, Precise Selfless to 20. So something else. You'll notice that my sealed life is 9.92%. Now this is under the threshold for our Phantom because it's 15%. So we get 6 skill levels on our main skill from from reserving 90% of our life. Now, something with talents is I went here, right, which is minus node effect. If I would have went here instead, which is just 3%, I believe this is 2%. I think it's an integer. I've still got to test it, but I think this is 2%. If I would have went here instead for 3%, it would have put me over 90%, under 90% health reserved. Usually, obviously, that's a good thing, having more res, but in this case, it would have actually took us under the breakpoint for 6, and it would have reduced our main skills level by 1. So that is the reason I went here instead of here. Yeah, right now we are. I think we're in ring reroll hell. I'll be honest with you. I think other than upgrading mods, I'm not really 100% sure what else to go into because every other upgrade is like very expensive on the build. I think ideally it would be like we have to find damage taken from life somewhere else, probably put it back on chest. Find a different source of curse somewhere and free up a skill slot, and I think it's by dropping cold infiltration and picking up curse on these rings, but I'm really not sure at this point. It might be enough that we just buy a double corrupt shield, sealed mana, compensation, and a good flat fizz might take us to the point where we can put on a third aura, and then that might allow us to just meet the DPS check for SS10. But yeah, I think going forward it's rings. We've only got a few days left. So I really kind of need to get a move on with looking at the tankiness and stuff like that. Okay, so other things are pedigree. We did change our pedigree. So we went from trade-off to Fallen Leaves, and then we just swapped it on Ronin tree. So we went from trade-off here and Fallen Leaves here to the opposite way around. We got a little bit of block chance, a little bit of damage through block recently, and then we capped attack speed with this mod. And then it actually coincidentally had mana on it, which is fine. So that's that. I think this was like 800 FA. It's really not bad, to be fair. Yeah, the old one had crit rating on, which we just don't need anymore because we're obviously capped. Another thing we changed was Pact. I did go into Purple Guy, and then I swapped back to Azure Gunslinger because it was like roughly the same. Okay, so Pact. We have replaced some of our mana packs with attack block chance packs, right? Now the thing with these is, I think I've got a pact on. I think I've got a spare pact on me. I'll check before I actually do this. Yeah, I do. So the thing with these is that you can re-roll them, right? And you don't really want to do this at the start when you're just setting them up, and they're expensive, especially at the start of the league. They were quite expensive, but you can actually re-roll these. So that one was 13%. We don't need this attack speed because we're over cap now, and we put it on. We went down 1% attack block chance, but that's how you re-roll your medium fates, and that's just what we've done on a bunch of these because it was a cheap way to increase the rolls. We had a bunch that were on 6 and then now either 7 or 8. I think like upgrade wise, super cheap when you're looking at min max, and just to go over these, right? So you might as well. Okay, I think that is everything. So yeah, that is why we've done no map showcase, because we just had a lot to yap about. And yeah, we are looking at tankiness now, and yeah, maybe trying to hit that sort of 10 trill mark. I think that's enough to do SS20. Some people have said 15, but I do think 10 trill is about where we need to be personally. I don't really care about 3-star it. I just want a 1-star it. I'll go over here. You can see we've done 19. She was an absolute terror on this build because of the downtime for consume, overlaps with the orbs and the safe zones, and yeah, total nightmare. And we're now on SS20, and he is a bigger nightmare. So yeah, last goal of the season right there, and then we'll get our Cube 2, and we'll make so much currency next season by gambling it. So that was day 16. Join the Discord if you have any questions about Rosa 2. If you need help with your build, plenty of helpful people there. And I will see you tomorrow for day 17 as we close, as we get to the closing stages of the season. So see you tomorrow.